Welcome to Mormon Book Reviews, where an evangelical encounters the restoration. I'm your host, Steven Pynakker, and I just want to say this is my very first episode that I have filmed since I released my episode on Tuesday, talking about how Apostle Anderson blessed me, Elder Anderson blessed me, when I was at the opening of the Sarasota Stake Center, just opened up down the road, and the congregation greeted with me with open arms. All the Mormon missionary boys were hanging around me, peppering me with questions. I've been plugged into all the institutions, whether it's the church, Deseret News, BYU, the church historian's office, but now I'm plugged in on the local level. So I just want to thank everybody this weekend for hosting a wonderful time. When Elder Anderson and I made eye contact when I was sitting out there, and then later on I'm talking to him, and he said that there was a spirit about me. That was really an amazing moment. And he also said wonderful things about evangelicals in his speech. So I went up there to thank him on behalf of all evangelicals for the kind words he said about our people. And really, I kind of like this whole idea of us talking to each other and having these conversations. And just one quick more thing, folks. This month's book giveaway is Unexpected, the backstory of finding Elizabeth Smart and growing up in the culture of an American religion, forward by Elizabeth Smart. My good friend Chris Thomas, who's been a guest, sent me 2 copies. So in the description, make sure you send it to mormonbookreviews@gmail.com. And in the subject line, say book contest, give me your name and address, U.S. residents only. And the deadline is probably going to be May 31st, U.S. residents only, of course. All right, so I have my 2 homies here who've both been previous guests of mine. I consider them friends. I also tell people that my phone call at 8:30 at night on a Saturday, before I even filmed my first video, I had a wonderful conversation with Patrick McKay, who is an apostle in the independent restorationists movement. I want you to talk a little bit about yourself and your church. And then Casey Griffiths, man, when it was so cool. When I first had you on, I just was this tiny little channel nobody ever heard of. And you took the time. You were my very first BYU professor to come on my channel. And that was so cool. Now they're lining up. Now I get them coming in. And it's so funny. When I first started my channel, it took a while for people to get the clearance to come on my program. Now I contact somebody at BYU and within a half hour, they get the clearance. So it's good to have a great relationship with Brigham Young University. Patrick McKay, Casey Griffiths, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So really the story of my channel was so fascinating because, Patrick, we had that phone call and you talked about the Songs of Zion and Arlene Buffington's supernaturally inspired, created hymnal, which really blew me out of the water. And when you told me the story of that was the moment when the trajectory of my channel changed, when originally it was supposed to be a secular scholarly channel, but then actually I realized at that moment that also the Spirit would also enter in. And I hear many people from my audience all the time how they sense the Spirit when they watch my show. And I think that was because that opened my mind to that possibility, Patrick. Patrick, I want you to talk a little bit about yourself. You've been on a few times, but the channel's gotten a lot bigger since you were last on. So maybe give a little background about yourself and then we're going to talk about this Book of Mormon Rally and Symposium that you're going to be putting on, you and Casey, next week. So just the floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Welcome, Casey. I was born and bred in the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I went to our church college in Lamoni, Iowa, Grayson College. It's probably most well known for the fact that Bruce Jenner attended there and became an Olympic decathlon champion. I haven't had any contact with Bruce in several years, but we were good friends. Anyway, I moved to Independence. We have always believed that the center place is where God will establish his kingdom, and from then it'll spread out throughout the length and breadth of the land. So I've been here with a determination to labor for and with the cause of Zion. There came a time in our church when there was a transformation taking place, and there was really the demythologizing of the angel message, and it led to a rift in the church. And in 1984, I was silenced. In other words, I was defrocked. I lost my ability to minister in the church. I had participated in what was called a Restoration Festival, where we were just preaching the old-time gospel on non-competing times. As a result of that, things began to change. The church's views were a little different than some of ours, and those of us that were more traditional began meeting independently in restoration branches. And that's been 39 years, and there's been a proliferation of branches since that time. And we're in 23 countries, but we're still independent branches. I belong to a little group within the Restoration Branch movement called the Joint Conference of Branches. And we felt after all this time, and beginning in 2005, that we should come together and have voice and vote on some of the direction that we were trying to accomplish in the church, primarily missionary efforts. And so I've been a part of the Joint Conference of Branches since that time, and I serve in the office of apostle in the Conference of Branches, and we see that as the primary missionary arm of the church. And I've had the privilege to travel in many countries, as well as throughout the United States, sharing the angel message. And my interaction has led me into a lot of people in the Restoration outside of our particular fraternity. And as I listened and contemplated and shared with them, spent time with them, ate meals, visited their homes, shared their pulpits with them, I realized that God was in the matter, that he was sustaining all of these groups in the Restoration. And that led me to write this book, Healing the Breach, Mormonism Metaphors and the Pieces of the Puzzle. I do believe a scripture Joseph Smith delivered early in the Restoration claimed, if you're not one, you're not mine. And so we believe that God will heal the breach, unite the scattered of the Restoration, and we'll see the demonstration of his power that the sons and daughters of the children of men are waiting for, that a holy city will emerge. And so that's really what's been the genesis of my efforts in this regard. And several years ago, I visited BYU, met with some professors there, and they said, we'd love to help you, Patrick, if there's anything we could do. I said, well, we've held a Book of Mormon festival, and we'd like to include you in it. And so that opened the door. And so for about the last 11 years, minus the couple of years during the pandemic, we've had this joint exercise with BYU and a few of us here in Independence promoting a Book of Mormon Symposium and Rally.
Very exciting. And I got to speak at the last one you had in the fall of 2021. And that was a real blessing to have the mission president come up to me and say, we really appreciated your testimony of the Book of Mormon. And so they're coming from an evangelical, that meant a lot as an evangelical. I didn't think of it as a testimony, but I could understand how they would see it that way. And those were kind words. And one of the things too is, Casey, you are good friends with Patrick. As a matter of fact, Patrick's brother hosted a group of youth that as a bishop, you guys did like a road trip, and you got that camp in his yard. And so you're getting your hands dirty here. You're not just talking about, the idea, you're actually doing it. And you are part of this Council of Interfaith Outreach, which is a program, I guess, or something through BYU. Maybe talk a little bit about that and the unique friendship that you have with Patrick and his brother and other members of the Restoration branches.
Yeah, Patrick and Jim and I are dear friends, and I love them. I love their families. I've slept in Patrick's home. And like you mentioned, when I was serving as a bishop, you probably figured this out because I'm a BYU professor, but I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We organized a road trip for all of the priests and laurels. That was the 16 to 18-year-olds in our ward, to go to Nauvoo. And we couldn't go to Nauvoo without stopping in Zion along the way, but we couldn't find any place to stay because we were just camping as we went. So Jim, who's Patrick's brother, agreed to let our youth camp in his backyard. And then he even came out and did a little mini fireside while everybody was just sitting in their camp chairs. We talked about the Book of Mormon. And then Steve, I remember, fall of 2021, you and I both spoke at the Book of Mormon Rally and shared our testimony alongside a Catholic, a priest, a Baptist minister, and I think we had a member of the Strangite faith with us as well. It was a really, really fun and engaging meeting, and this is sort of a relaunch of those meetings that have been going on for over 10 years now.
Yeah, and it was really a cool thing, and this is really, I think it's important that not only on the academic level we have these conversations, and maybe talk about because I think the lay level is important, but talk about some of your efforts that you have done, published, talking about your doing your scholarly outreach as well.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I'm a member of the Council of Religious Outreach at BYU. And it's a council that exists specifically to reach out to other faiths, to build bridges and connections, make friendships, find points of commonality where we can cooperate. And I guess you would say I'm the council member who's been assigned to look after other branches of the restoration. So this is one of the first things we produce. This is called Restorations. This is a set of essays that BYU scholars wrote with scholars from Community of Christ on a lot of different points, things like scripture, revelation, ordinances, where we kind of say, this is what we believe, what do you believe, this is what they believe, go back and forth and try to come to some kind of conclusion. But there's a vibrant group of restoration churches out there, all of which have certain things in common, most prominently that we believe in the Book of Mormon. Sometimes that means a lot of different things, but one of the reasons why I connected with Jim and Patrick is they are ardent believers in the Book of Mormon. They testify the Book of Mormon. They teach from the Book of Mormon. They know the Book of Mormon as well as anybody that I teach with here at BYU. And they use the Book of Mormon in their daily devotion and in their discipleship. And so anybody that is using the Book of Mormon, we're supportive of, whether we agree on everything or not. And we don't agree on everything, but we feel like the things that we have in common are much, much more important than the things that we disagree on.
Yeah, I say amen to that. It's so funny because a friend of mine tagged me, the channel, as the Switzerland of Mormonism. This has become the clearinghouse of in a safe space for all voices of the restoration. And it's really a unique place that I'm at. And it's really cool to show, because, I did a thing about Patrick Mason and the whole situation. And I had a panel last week that I had a conservative member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a progressive member, and I had a post-Mormon on. And we had a conversation about civility. And we used President Nelson's General Conference talk about the importance of having civility. His last talk he just gave, and he mentioned we're trying to model behavior. And so within the Mormon podcast community, those from even different backgrounds, we've all kind of come together and agreed we're going to follow President Nelson. And some of these are post-Mormons that have agreed to this because they see the wisdom in the words he has to say. And so that's the kind of conversations I'm trying to do too, is show that we can all talk to each other, even if we come from different camps. And I think that's important. So by doing this, by even just us having this conversation, we are showing how it can be done. And I think that is so cool. And Patrick, of course, you've been involved in trying to get the restoration branches together as well. And that's been your mission. That's really been your calling for a long time now. And maybe talk to that a little bit, Patrick, about your experiences and maybe some of the ups and downs that you've experienced. Because every time you see a group split, it must break your heart because you're trying to get them back together, right?
Well, we're Latter-day Saints and we believe in the gathering, but oftentimes we practice the scattering. And so that's something that we're trying to work on. And I think it's because in Latter-day Saintism, we believe God restored the church and restored a divine priesthood to administer the fullness of the gospel and its ordinances. And after the death of Joseph, the church fractured. And what happened is each individual group felt they were the continuation of the original church. And so they believe that the others have light and truth, but only they have authority. And so the elephant in the room has always been, if I have authority, Casey, you can't have it, or vice versa. But I would submit to you that just because I have authority does not preclude someone else from having authority either. I like to look at this whole scenario with the story of the woman at the well. Jesus went and talked to the Samaritan woman, and you remember the Samaritans had no dealings with the Jews, and the Jews wouldn't correspond with the Samaritans. But Jesus talked to both. And the fact that I have found as I visited with the various groups of restoration, God has been visiting, nurturing, sustaining, and speaking to these various branches of the restoration, just as he has with ours. The problem is because we haven't talked to each other, we're not aware of that. And so I think this is very instructive what we're doing. And I like to refer to you, Stephen, as gathering up the constellation of Mormonism. And you talk to a wide variety of people. And what you've actually helped us accomplish is you've helped us have interaction with others that we never would have visited with or had considered. And so this is the process. It's dialogue, it's work, it's effort. But I can assure you, if you don't love people, if you don't spend time with them, if you don't get to know them, then there won't be any real fruit born. People don't know how much you care until they know how much, they don't care what you know until they know how much you care about them. And I think that's what we found in this dialogue. And it's been very enriching. And so my book, what I tried to do, I tried to take an experience in my church, which we considered a divine appointment, a manifestation, a dream, a vision, a prophecy, a healing, a miracle, and marry it with a similar experience in another branch of the restoration. And it's remarkable. The things that we consider so unique to us are taking place in other factions of the restoration. This should give us hope and encourage us to move forward in this dialogue. And that's what the rally and symposium attempt to do.
And we're going to talk about that rally and symposium in a minute here, because I'm very excited about that. But it reminds me of a conversation I had this weekend at the open house at the New Stake Center. And the Relief Society president, she actually knew who I was, because they had Allison, who's a member of the local ward, put out my appearance on Saints Unscripted. So many people in the ward were familiar with me through that episode. And we were having this conversation, and I was talking to her counselor, and she was telling me how somebody had mentioned, her neighbor said, "Hey, those Mormons are building a building down the street here." And she's like, "Yeah, that's where I'm going to go." Well, after that, her daughters was not allowed to play with their children anymore. And then I just went and I said, I'm so saddened that's happening. And most likely this person's an evangelical that did that. But I also said, I hear from a lot of evangelicals and non-members who live in Utah, who they weren't allowed to play with children of the Mormons wouldn't let their children play with them as well. And the Relief Society president looked right at me. She said, "You know what? You're absolutely right about that," because they're all transplants from Utah. That's very true. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we both have to look at ourselves both ways too. So it's not only just like, we also have to recognize that we also can do wrong actions. We can also do things that are un-Christ-like. And so I think having that conversation where, on one hand, she told me something, which I don't like that. I feel bad that an evangelical would do that. But then I was able to then tell another story of another person who also experienced something similar in Utah. And and they were so glad that was brought up. I think it's good to also talk about our shortcomings too.
I agree. And Saratoga Springs, that's the temple you visited, right?
Oh, no. Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
No, I went to the Stake Center. I haven't been to a temple yet. Sarasota. That's it. Yeah, Sarasota.
Oh,
Florida.
Sarasota. Okay, I thought you mentioned the Saratoga Springs Temple, which is the town I'm from.
Oh, I would love to go through a temple someday, but one day.
You ought to come out. They're doing an open house this summer, and anybody's allowed to go to the temple before it's dedicated. So I'll show you through if you want to go.
Sounds like a plan, dude. I might be there in July, so if they're still doing an open house, I might just stick my head in there, man.
Yeah, let's figure it out.
All right, that's awesome. So this is the thing. Okay, Patrick, I want you to pull up. I've enabled screen share. I want us to, for those of you who are interested in attending the Book of Mormon Rally and Symposium, it's going to be this Friday, May 19th and 20th. And it's going to be, he's going to put up the information there in a second. Is it enabled, or you're?
Just a minute. I'm
okay.
I'm looking for the.
So either way, we're going to be doing the Symposium and the Book of Mormon Rally, and he's going to be pulling that up. And this is going to have a really cool, a lot of different people and speakers are going to be speaking at it. I just talked to David Boice of 52 Churches in 52 Weeks on the phone yesterday, and he will be making the ride from Wisconsin. Of course, folks, his video on the going to General Conference went viral recently. Of course, we know my good friend Jeff McCullough, who went viral. And somebody commented the other day, "Steve, you need to make a video where you visit General Conference, because then you'll go viral." And I'm like, yeah, I probably will. Although we have to do that every time, I know, but I would love to do General Conference. So if somebody wants to invite me to General Conference, just let me know. And maybe I'll attend this fall, because I thought President Nelson's speech was really, really important. Casey, let me also ask you about the symposium and maybe how you put this together and what you hope to accomplish, and maybe talk about some of the people that are going to be there as well.
Well, Patrick and Jim deserve credit for really being the genesis of this, but Other BYU professors came on board. Robert Millett was really important. Keith Wilson, who's now on a mission in Peru, were important. But the basic idea was we all have this belief in the Book of Mormon in common. And we wanted to provide an opportunity for all the churches to have a forum to come together and kind of celebrate the Book of Mormon. In fact, I think that's a title we've employed at certain times, is the Book of Mormon Festival or the Book of Mormon Celebration or anything like that. I've spoken at it several times. This time, we're going to have a number of wonderful speakers, including a professor from BYU Idaho, Scott Woodward, who is wonderful, loves the history of the church, and is a really powerful speaker. Stephen Tager, who's a brand new faculty member here at BYU, who's excited to go and testify of the Book of Mormon. And also, we're going to hold an interfaith roundtable where we just get various leaders from different churches to talk together about where we can agree and what we can do to kind of help each other out. Because in a lot of ways, this year is sort of a relaunch of the festival. We held that rally that you attended in 2021. But it's been difficult because of the pandemic. I mean, we were all set to go in 2020 when everything got shut down. And then a sort of small rally was held in the fall of 2020. And we've been keeping the lights on. And now this year, I think we're ready to fully relaunch. And we hope that it continues to be an event that people can come to and receive enlightenment, encouragement, and most importantly, inspiration related to the Book of Mormon and its witness of Jesus Christ.
And that's what's so cool about this thing, is that this isn't just members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's not just members of Patrick's group, but this is open to all the branches of the Restoration, all the believers in the Book of Mormon. So you'll have this great diverse group of people who will be speaking at the rally, and we usually can talk for a few minutes. And I imagine Lynn Ridenhour is going to be there, Patrick, and other evangelicals, and people from the Church of Jesus Christ. And here we have, okay, I think we're almost there. We are almost there. Okay, so I'm just going to keep talking. Hopefully, Patrick can get this.
See it up there, Stephen?
No, it's just a white blank screen right now. So it's okay. These things happen. This is what live TV is all about, even though we're not live. So I'm going to exit out for now until you can figure out how to get that thing scripted. So just maybe, Patrick, maybe you can, while you're still working on the screen, why don't you give the people the dates and the address of where this rally is going to be?
Okay, the dates are May 19th and 20th from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. at the Good Shepherd Community Christ in Kansas City, Missouri. It's on Blue Ridge Boulevard, 4341. And I think that it's a nice location. It's centrally situated, and it's a good size venue, and we hope that we fill it.
Okay.
We've been working tirelessly to try to get advertisement out and let everybody know that not only those who are believers in the Book of Mormon, but those who are curious about it might have an opportunity. For anyone who, like Casey said last year, we had a Catholic priest who used the Book of Mormon during Mass. And Lynn Ridenhour claimed the Book of Mormon is more Baptist than the Baptist hymnal. And we had you, an evangelical, Pentecostal, and you raised your hands up and you held the Book of Mormon. And so we were grateful for that.
We got ourselves the Pentecostal Reads the Book of Mormon by my good friend Christopher Thomas. Maybe one day he'll make his appearance out there. He's a busy guy, though. It would be nice if one day he can maybe do something with you down the road as well. And that's the key thing is, like I say, it's really important that we hear all the different ideas and voices. Now, I have a huge following in amongst the traditional members of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. I do have a lot of evangelicals that follow my channel. I have a lot of atheists that watch my channel. I have a lot of atheists. And the thing is that, I just think what I think is so important is even an atheist can see the utility and the value of people who are traditionally enemies, who butt heads at each other and can be intolerant of each other, that we can learn to put down our weapons and also bury our weapons, if you will, and have these conversations peacefully And that, I think we're modeling that behavior. So even an atheist who says the cause of all the problems in this world is all these religions going to war with each other. Well, yeah, I think that is a problem. And I do think we got to quit doing that too. And that we need to be peacemakers and follow the Savior and the example that he provides for us. Patrick, do you think you got it up? See if you can get it up.
You've got to show, okay, share screen.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's see if you got it up. So I always like to have the visual information. And this is our last chance. Otherwise, I'm going to have you repeat the information for our audience. And I'll also have the information in the description as well with the name, date, and location. So remember, the 19th of May, the 20th of May, the rally itself is on the 19th, and the symposium is in, nope, no moss. All right. It's all good. It's all good. So I'll have the information in there. That goes from 6:30 to 9:30 both nights. And so if you can make it for one or both, that'd be great. David Boice and I are very excited about doing this. Now, folks, I will tell you, I actually haven't bought my airplane tickets for this because I had to spend a lot of money to set up my appearance to go to the Mormon History Association. I'm going to probably book my flight soon, or I'm going to drive. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to do the math and see what works best for me. And so I'm going to definitely make every effort to get out there, and I will be speaking at the rally. But if there's people out there that could financially support me on this, it would be greatly appreciated. If you got an extra 50 or $100 you could toss my way, I would really appreciate it if you could bless me. So in the link in the description, there is a PayPal link. And so if you would like to help maybe pay for some of the costs of this trip, I'd really appreciate it, because I have 2 trips back to back, and that really drains my account. And I only bring so much money in. So for those of you who like to financially maybe help me out, I would appreciate it. So I'll have a link in the description there. Guys, I think...
Stephen, let me make a little segue here.
Oh, please do.
There's a real distinction between the symposium and the rally.
So talk about that, please do.
The symposium is fairly academic. We ask people to present a paper. They have about 35 minutes to speak about some aspect of the Book of Mormon. I think this year's topic was the Book of Mormon, a dynamic unfolding model of revelation. That's a wide topic, and we ask people to stay on that and not promote their own particular brand of Mormonism, but to talk about the book and the power of it and the testimony from it. Then the rally is a little bit different. It's more casual. People don't wear suits and ties. There'll be a band. There'll be excitement. There'll be many speakers speaking. There'll be some interaction with the crowd. We're going to have one of the BYU teachers teach a 30-minute class on how to share the Book of Mormon. And so it's really an event that not only should inspire everybody, it should address the young people as well. And so if you believe in this book and you want to get excited about it, this is where you need to come, because we have a dynamic message and we want to share it with the world. And it's time that we get outside of our walls and let people know the joy, the excitement, and enthusiasm that we have, why we believe in this book.
Great. That's awesome. Casey, I imagine you're excited. You know, it must be so cool for you to be able to do these kind of trips, because you're experiencing an aspect of the restoration that many people who are Utah-based Mormons don't even know about it. And you have this privilege to actually meet these wonderful people. It really must actually enhance your faith journey as well.
More people need to know what's going on in Independence and how special it is. And as we were sitting here talking, I was thinking, 2 weeks ago, I was in Jerusalem, like the old Jerusalem, and you can see there are all these divisions that still exist, family divisions that go back to the Bible, which are sometimes the deepest that are there. Latter-day Saints, members of the Restoration, believe that Independence is the new Jerusalem. And we don't want the new Jerusalem to have the same kind of problems that the old Jerusalem has been dealing with for thousands of years. And so every little person that can attend, that can help, that can extend a hand of friendship to someone like you, Steve, or to a member of another Restoration faith helps us build that idea of a new Jerusalem where those old hatreds will be put away. And by theological standards, our hatreds aren't that old. They're a century or two, but we've still got a ways to go. The Doctrine and Covenants says Zion must be built up upon the principles of righteousness. And that means I've got to learn to love everybody that I run into, whether I agree with them completely or not. But I think those that come will find there's a lot to agree on, and there's a lot of good that we can do if we're a little bit more united. That's the hope of these meetings.
That's great. So we have the rally on Friday night, and Saturday is the symposium, which is going to be a little bit more academic. So, and they're both at the same location, both at 6:30 to 9:30. And I will be in touch, folks. Maybe I'll do an impromptu meetup sometime there. Last time I was in Independence, I did an impromptu meetup and had over a dozen people show up. So maybe if I get there soon enough, I could put it out there on social media. I think the most important thing is that we have fun, we fellowship with each other. We have conversations. You know, one of the most touching things that ever happened to me, Patrick, was when I attended the first time in Independence. You guys had a church service in your house. And I love telling this story. Church service in your house. Casey, you were there. You had to leave a little early, but I came a little late. You left a little early, but it was so cool that at the very end, Patrick goes and says, Brother Steve, will you do the closing prayer for our meeting? So you had an evangelical giving a closing prayer at a restorationist service that included people from all the different branches of the restoration. What a beautiful thing that symbolized what that symbolized. And Patrick understood that too. That was an important thing that happened. And it was a lovely thing. And Patrick, I think our friendship, I really appreciate our friendship because I've been talking to you longer than just about anybody. So I just want to thank you for opening my eyes to so many other aspects of the restoration and really making me and changing the trajectory of the channel. You're a cool dude.
Well, the feeling is mutual. When you had your meetup here at the Jerusalem Cafe here in Independence, that's when I met Rick Bennett. And Rick said, I want to interview you, Patrick. And you had talked to him. And so when I went out to Utah this last year to speak at BOMSA, Rick pulled me into his college there and did a nice interview with me. And I really enjoyed that. I got to meet a terrific guy, and that spread out a long way, and I've had a lot of contact with individuals as a result of that interview. So it is percolating out. If we take time to make contacts, work at it, extend the hand of fellowship, I think that we have an opportunity to grow this and find common ground, and that's really the purpose. The Book of Mormon indicates that there are, save it be, two churches only, the Church of the Lamb of God and the Church of the Devil. And you know, you're a nice guy, Steve, but I just don't think you're in the Church of the Devil, but you're not in the Restoration. So I think that there's an opportunity for us to recognize the fact there are many forces at work in this world. The world sees them not at all, and we only see a portion of them. And so there's a lot going on, and we need to open our eyes. We need to take time to talk, dialogue, discourse one with another, and we'll find it will bear fruit. That's been our experience.
Amen.
Amen. Well, yep, that's the fruits. Let's focus on the fruits, and let's focus on the things that bring us together. Folks, what do you think? Are you going to, those of you who live in the Independence area, I really come on out, and hopefully I can make it out there. I really want to. Those of you who'd like to help me out, I would really greatly appreciate that as well. I think Patrick and Casey are men of integrity, and they're men that are people who want to, they're peacemakers, and they're modeling the behavior that President Nelson talked about at the last conference. Fellow peacekeepers, I thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
That's what it's all about, folks. So
we'll see you in a week, Stephen.
Yep. God willing, I'll get those tickets. Yeah, this is exciting. We're going to see each other very shortly. This is so awesome.
We'll be in person next time we talk.
This is the thing, folks. If you're in the area, in the greater Kansas City area, please stop on by, okay? And I'll keep you guys posted if I decide to do some kind of meetup as well. I'll see what the schedule looks like. But I think it's really important. One is for those of you who'd like to help us out, we have links in the description. Don't forget, we have the merch store where we have hats and T-shirts, and I got another nice hat here. And we got coffee mugs, hot chocolate mugs we have as well. And so check out our merch store, MormonBookReviews.com. And just remember, the most important thing is this, folks. Remember, all the voices of the restoration will be heard here on Mormon Book Reviews.